evening. Hey, everybody. Today we're talking about the question, should I use solfege with my choirs to learn their music? A potentially unpopular opinion. From a music teacher mentor to newer teachers, and choir teacher, voice teacher, all the above. So let's get into it because I think this topic is super fun and I get a little nerdy about it. So there's a lot of schools of thought about solfege. If you are new around here, solfege is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But some people think there is movable do, or like to use movable do, so that where they change the pitch of the first note based on the key signature, which is like if it's a low key, like starting in the key of C on the note C, or whether the home note is the note F or G, something like that. So that's movable do. Fixed do is where they always say that do is C. And so there's different schools of thought on this, and different people who do better, and different types of student brains that I've discovered who do better with being able to read music in the fixed do way or the movable do way. But as far as learning for the purposes of choir, should I use solfege with my choirs to actually learn their music? I actually don't have my choirs sing their choir music on solfege. Now, hear me out. Here's why. When they're learning their choir music, especially if they're sight reading, I personally am very good at sight reading. I don't like to brag about it, but I have learned the skills. I'm very good at sight reading. But I do not sing on solfege. And I don't even sing on solfege in my head. I sing it on the words. Do I see the relationships between the notes and do I think about the intervals? Yes. Do I sing it on the solfege though? No. When I'm first sight reading, it's actually too many pieces for me to quickly sight read something if I'm trying to read the notes, and sing the actual text, the actual words that are written there, and think about the solfege all at the same time. I think about the intervals for sure, but I don't use the solfege itself to sing on, because if I was trying to, I would make a lot more mistakes personally, because there's just an extra layer of saying something that's not written. And yes, I'm thinking those intervals, but I'm not having to say them while I'm reading a different text, right? So all that to say, do I use solfege with my choirs? Absolutely. Do I use the movable do solfege to teach them interval relationships and key relationships? Yes, I do. And I have a specific way I do that, a specific system that I follow that it makes it feel like magic. It makes it feel so easy for them and for me to be able to teach it in not very much amount of time, for them to be able to digest it, and for them to be able to apply it to their learning. So for example, I'll tell them the home note, do, in this song is, let's say, F or G. And so whenever you see F or G, that would be do if we were to think of it in that relationship. And then they can apply that to the rest of what they're working on. So it really is super helpful for them to have that framework, to have that mindset. But I haven't found it super useful for myself or for my students to actually sing on the solfege. Does that make sense? Because I know a lot of choirs who sight read music on the solfege, and I just don't find it particularly beneficial for my students in my context. I typically see my students once a week, and so we just don't take the time to sight read on solfege that maybe other people have more time to do, or they're going through more repertoire than we are. So whatever your context, that doesn't automatically mean it's a bad thing to do that. I think in some contexts, when you have more time, or if you are working on different types of skills for different purposes, that can be a very good skill to work on with your students. But when I only see them once a week, when I only see them 15 times in a semester, I have different priorities. And so that's kind of my potentially unpopular opinion. But do I have students who become really good sight readers? Yes, I do. And so there's lots of different ways you can go about doing that, as long as you are clear with your students about what your goal and purpose is, and you have a reason for what you're doing. I think that they will get on board with that if you are able to communicate that with them. Because I find that middle and high schoolers do so much better with doing something that maybe seems challenging to them if they know the why, if they have the actual purpose behind why you're asking them to do that, right? So let me know in the comments if you are a music teacher or if you're a music student and you learned in choir a certain way. I would love to hear what you as a teacher or what your teacher did for using solfege, or how they approached using solfege, if they did at all. If they didn't, I'd like to hear that too, because I just like hearing how different teachers do things, and if it worked well for you or if it didn't work well for you, because I think that is always something. And I actually ask my students these types of questions a lot. I ask them, did this particular learning format work for you? And so I bounce these ideas off of my students and see from their perspective, their learning, if that was a beneficial thing for them or not. So today's a short, quick one. I'd love to read in the comments what your thoughts are. But if you have any questions, let me know. I have some coaching available if you want to check out the link in the description of this video. If you're new around here, welcome. And there's a whole group where if this video was valuable for you, you can check out tons of videos like this in the library. I like to call it the guide section a library, because it truly feels like that. You can go look through all these different video topics and really decide what's going to be the best fit for me. So check that out. If you're already in the group, awesome. Go check out the guide section. What are you waiting for? There's some more helpful information on sight reading, on pitch matching, on reading rhythms versus syllables, and all sorts of things. So go check that out, and I will catch you again tomorrow. Bye for now.